How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Ayin Tes, Daf 79 of Masechta BavaMetzia. Friends, your friends. Okay. So, all right. I think we're gonna start on Ein Ches Amud Beis, right where it gets wide. Right where it gets wide. All right. Hopefully this will be a great daf. Why shouldn't it be? Okay, let me make sure is my volume. No, let's turn this. Okay. Let's go weiter. All right. Here we go. What's that? Okay, let's go weiter. So as I said, on the first of the wide lines of Daf Ayin Ches Amud Beis. Oshenaisis Angaria Omela Reshelcha Lifanecha. Aha. Okay. So you have a donkey owner who rents out his donkey to a donkey renter, and the renter rents it, and then the king's people come and they say, "Hey, we need that donkey." So the renter goes to the owner and he's like, "Oh, this is kind of annoying. I rented your donkey and now the king's people took it." So be'etzem, he says, the owner says, "Look, I mean, and it's not my fault," meaning it's just as much my bad luck as your bad luck. These things happen, it's only going to be temporary. They're going to give it back to you, but, so when you get it back, you'll be able to use it. But, I don't need to give you your money back or anything like that. You just got to wait. It's your bad luck just as much as it's my bad luck. Amar Rav says, Rav, Loshonu ela ba'angaria chozeres, aval angaria she'ena chozeres, chayav lahamid lo chomer. So Rav clarifies this would of course only be if this is a temporary thing, right? If the king's people are just borrowing it and then they're going to give it back, so then if they're borrowing it and then they're going to give it back, so then the owner is just like, yeah, I know it's super annoying, but wait till they're done and then you'll use the donkey then. It's the king's people. What do you want me to tell you? But if it's permanent, if they push it, chapt it arayin forever, so yeah, I mean the owner committed to renting, to providing a donkey, and he needs to do that. Ushmuel Amar says Shmuel, bein angaria chozeres, bein angaria she'ena chozeres. Shmuel says, it's not whether they're going to return it or not. That's necessarily the defining factor, the definitive factor over here. In bederech halicha, where am I? In bederech halicha nitla, omel arishach lefanecha, v'im la bederech halicha sa nitla, chayv lamed lo chomer. So, Shmuel says actually the important factor here is that even if it's only temporary, but if they're taking it in a completely different direction, well, that's a problem. Meaning, the renter rented it to take the donkey to a certain place in a certain kivun, in a certain direction. So if the king's people are going to take it in a completely different direction, so then the driver is basically the renter is basically stuck, even if it's only temporary. So if they're taking it in a different direction, so then the owner needs to provide, come up with a solution. But if provide another donkey or pay him, give him his money back. But if it's in the same direction, well then okay, it's definitely inconvenient for the renter, that's for sure, because the king's people are taking it and he doesn't have a donkey now. But what does Rashi say? Basically, right, the king's people would take the donkey and use it for a portion, and it's weird. They use it a portion of their journey until they find some next, friar, some next nebuchadnezzar, that they take his donkey and give back the donkey to the previous guy. In the meantime, the previous guy just kind of walks after it. So if it's going in the same direction, it's certainly an inconvenience for the renter, that's for sure. But if it's going in the same direction, so he's just got to kind of deal with it and go ahead with it. But if it's a different direction, then he gets his money back, or the donkey or the owner needs to provide a different solution. Okay, so Rav says it's about temporary versus permanent. If it's temporary, so then the owner says, "Look, man, just wait it out." If it's permanent, so then the owner needs to provide a different donkey or give him his money back. Shmuel says the definitive factor is the direction in which the king's people are taking it. If they're taking it in the same direction that the renter was traveling in, well then he's just got to kind of go with the flow. But if they're taking it in a different direction, so then he's entitled to either get a replacement donkey or get his money back. Fine. Where am I? Okay, we have a kasha on Shmuel. Hasocher es achomer. Somebody who rents a donkey, vivrika, and it goes blind. Ocean ishtatza, or it became stupid and didn't know how to do stuff. I don't know. Was not doing things in a intelligent manner. Omer lo, hare shalcha lefanecha. So the owner says, look, I mean, again, it's similar to before. It's definitely an inconvenient scenario. But it's definitely an inconvenient scenario to have a donkey that's blind or that is somehow a shota, but deal with it. You might have to guide it better or be more on top of it. But okay, just make it work. The donkey is still technically usable, even if it's more difficult to handle. Mesa or Shenaisis Angaria, but if it died, or if it was taken by the king's people, then the owner needs to provide an alternative solution. So we have our Mishnah that says that by Angaria, when the king's people take it, and we have this Brisa that says that by Angaria, so our Mishnah says that the owner just tells the renter, go with the flow, deal with it. And the Brisa says that the owner needs to provide a replacement. So now Bishlam Rav, okay, I understand how Rav can settle this contradiction. Well, when it is a angaria that is temporary, so that's like in our Mishnah where it says Arishel Chalifanecha, stick it out. When it's an angaria she'enu chazeres, when they're taking it permanently, so that's the brisa where it says that the owner must provide a replacement. Elu l'Shmuel kasha, but according to Shmuel, how does he reconcile the two? And if you're going to say v'chitem, if you're going to say, what do you mean? How does he reconcile the two? Just like Rav has a distinction, permanent, temporary, Shmuel also has a distinction, dependent on the direction in which it's going. V'chitem l'Shmuel nami lo kasha. So according to Shmuel, oichit, it's not a question. If they're taking it in the same direction, that's our Mishnah that says, and in the Brisa it's talking about where they're taking it in a different direction, and therefore the owner needs to come up with an alternative. That is not going to cut it, however, for Shmuel, because Hamidikatani is Seifa. If you continue reading in that Brisa, what does it say? Reb Shimon ben Elazar Omer says, Reb Shimon ben Elazar, in bederech halichosa nitla, Omer lo hareshelcha lefanecha, ve'im lav chayv lamed lo chomer. So if you continue reading the Brisa, Reb Shimon ben Elazar, it makes that distinction that it depends if it's going in the same direction. If it's going in a different direction, so from the fact that if you keep on reading, you arrive at that distinction. That implies that the Tanakama lo shiny lay, that the Tanakama doesn't have that distinction. And therefore it's unlike Shmuel. Amar loch Shmuel. So Shmuel will answer you, Lav mi'ika, Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Dekoi kavosi, Anu da'ami, Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Shmuel says, okay, I don't understand, people. Like, inherent in your question is oichet to answer. Kilu, you're saying that this Bryce is a kasha on Shmuel because Reb Shimon ben Elazar says his opinion. So Shmuel's going to say, yeah, bidiyuk, I hold like Reb Shimon ben Elazar. So don't say, well, like, how could this Brisa says that he has to come up with an alternative solution, and you can't say that it's because he's going in a different direction, because if you keep on reading the Brisa, that's Reb Shimon ben Elazar's opinion. Shmuel says, okay, fine, I hold like Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Now leave me alone. Ibai Sema. Alternatively, Shmuel can say, Kula Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Actually, that entire brisa is the opinion of Reb Shimon ben Elazar. So there isn't like a machlokas here. It's all Reb Shimon ben Elazar. And this is how you read the brisa. If a fellow rents a donkey and it goes blind or it becomes a shota, so the owner says, deal with it. So if it dies, but if it dies or if the king's people took it, so then he needs to, the owner needs to come up with to provide a replacement. When do we say this? The owner needs to provide a replacement if the king's people are taking it in a different direction. But if they're taking it in the same direction that the renter was going in, the owner says, look, they're taking it in the same direction you were going in, deal with it. Wait, it's only temporary, they'll give it back to you, and then you go weiter. I'm not providing alternative solutions. What's the word I'm thinking of? Alternative, alternative, not like accommodations, alternative provisions, alternative, whatever. Divrei Reb Shimon ben Elazar, that is Reb Shimon ben Elazar's opinion. Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Reb Shimon ben Elazar would say, "B'derech hilucha nitla," that if it's going in the same alternative, what? Not providing alternative. Okay, whatever. Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Omer, in b'derech hilucha nitla, if it's going in the same direction, Omer la reishach lefnecha, he says, deal with it. Ve'im lo chayv lamid lo chomer, and if not, then he needs to provide. If it's going in a different direction, he has to provide a different a donkey. Wait, what's that word? Alternative. One second. Let me pause the video so I can think for a second. I don't know. Maybe I was just thinking of like accommodations or something. Alternative maybe. Okay. Or maybe something that starts with the C. Alternative whatever. I don't care. Well, I do care, but I don't care. Okay, fine. So we want to say that entire brisa is Taka Reb Shimon ben Elazar's opinion. So meaning, don't ask a kasha on Shmuel, because we have this brisa that implies, right, that says that by the king's people, he has to provide alternative, an alternative, a replacement donkey. And the distinction can't be based on the direction, because that's Reb Shimon ben Elazar. The whole thing is Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Don't ask the kasha and Shmuel from that brisa. But umimatzes mukmas like Reb Shimon ben Elazar. But can you really say that this brisa is like Reb Shimon ben Elazar? V'akatani reisha. But the reisha of that brisa says hasorcher sachamer ve'evrika o shenishtatza om la reishach lefenecha. But oh man, sorry, 1 second. Sorry about. But the ratio of that brisa, right? Meaning the sefer talked about the angaria and the direction that it was going in. But what did the ratio say? What did the first part say? A person who rents a donkey and it goes blind. It became a shota. So he says, deal with it. But Reb Shimon ben Elazar says, that if a person rents a donkey to ride on it and it became blind, or it became a shota, the owner would have to provide an alternative. So on the one hand, this brisa says that if it becomes blind or a shota, the owner says deal with it, and yet we have another brisa where Reb Shimon ben Elazar says that if a person rents a donkey to ride on and it becomes blind or it becomes a shota, so the owner has to provide an alternative. So how could it be Reb Shimon ben Elazar? Reb Shimon ben Elazar seems to be saying that the owner would have to provide an alternative, yet this brisa says, the owner says, deal with it. Rabbi Bar Ravuna says, wait, apples and oranges. The brisa that you're asking a kasha from says that according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, if a person rents a donkey to ride on, and it becomes blind, or becomes a shota, so yeah, in that case, Reb Shimon ben Elazar would say that the owner needs to provide a replacement, because, as opposed to our brisa where it's not to ride on, so the owner says deal with it. There's a difference between if you're renting a donkey to like carry stuff, and it went blind, which means it's going to be super annoying and you're going to have to handle it much better, but it's doable. That's very different than like going on it and riding it and putting your life in its hand, right? Nobody wants to ride a blind donkey. So therefore, if he rented it to ride it, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar would say that if it's blind or a shota, nobody wants to go on that donkey, and the owner would have to find a replacement. But or give his money back. But to carry a load, it's super annoying and inconvenient. But the owner says deal with it. And also if he rented it to transport the glass, fragile items, so that would be similar to riding on, i.e. the owner would have to provide a replacement. But if it's like to transport, I guess, like wheat or grain or something like that, which I guess can handle a little bit of a bumpy journey, so then if it goes blind or a shota, the owner says deal with it. I put a potato in the oven before Babylon Talmud, and then I thought maybe afterwards it would be ready. It takes time to bake these potatoes, but now it's starting to smell like a baked potato, and now I'm just like, because I got my noise canceling headphones in, obviously, and so I kind of smell that it's cooking, but I won't be able to hear if I don't know exactly what there's to be nervous about. It's just a potato in an oven, but I don't know. I just feel like, I guess it's like good to kind of like know what's going on when stuff is going on. Amar Rabbi Bar Avuna says, Rabbi Avuna Amar Rav, in the name of Rav. Hasoiches achomer lirkov aleo. Okay, so if a renter rents a donkey to ride on it, v'meisa lo b'chatzi aderech. Okay, so a person rents a donkey to ride from Yerushalayim to Tel Aviv, and it dies halfway on Kvish Echad. Nosin lo scharo shel chatzi aderech. So the renter needs to pay for half of the journey. He did, after all, get halfway there. Ve'ein lo olav ela taromis. And sure, it could be braigas with the owner. How could you give me such a headache over here? But he still has to pay. The donkey did get him halfway there, so he's got to pay for how far the donkey got him. How so? Well, if there's plenty of people to rent from where it broke down, so then what's the big deal, right? Meaning it broke down halfway, broke down when he was passing Beit Shemesh, and over there's a big donkey hub, and so the renter has to pay the owner for half of the journey. Then the donkey died. Immediately he was able to rent another donkey to get him to Tel Aviv, the other half. So what's he braigas about? Yeah, sure, it's not ideal, but Peseder, the donkey died. He immediately was able to find a new one. Like, not that big of a deal. Meaning, not the end of the world. He figured it out. Where am I? What's that? Is that the power washers? Oh, big time power washers. Big time. Which direction are they getting us from? From the back. Wow. Okay, they're doing the back now. Okay, they'll probably come to the front soon. Yeah, the power washers, they're very committed to keeping the streets of Yerushalayim clean. I prefer them dirty. I don't think there's anything wrong with dirty streets, right? Quiet streets or dirty, either clean, noisy streets or quiet, dirty streets. That's the question. Clean and noisy or quiet and dirty? But can't there be like a compromise? That's what I don't understand. Can't it just be like relatively clean and relatively quiet? That sounds nice. All right. Where are we? Okay, where are we? Sorry, the power washers distracted me. I'm sorry. Okay, fine. Now, if there's nobody to rent from in Beit Shemesh, or maybe it broke down, a little bit past Beit Shemesh, and there's nobody there. So where am I? So then the owner needs to give his money back, right? Meaning, if he breaks down halfway along the way, so then he didn't get to Tel Aviv. So then the owner should have to give him his money back. He didn't get to where he needs to go. The olam lo shchiach lagori, umishum de omerle ilu bais lemeise arocha lav agor bais lemesav. So really, it's talking about where, the renter, or really the donkey, died a little bit, on a part of the journey where there were not other donkeys to rent. So he was basically stuck. Okay, so then shouldn't he get his money back? He rented a donkey to get to Tel Aviv, and he got stuck in the middle of nowhere. Why should he pay for that? Well, I'm reading that again because the owner is going to say to the renter, well, let's say you wanted to get to the middle of nowhere. Lav agra bais lemesav. Wouldn't you have had to pay me for getting you to the middle of nowhere? So, it's not like you didn't get anywhere. You got to some place where, technically, if you wanted to go there, then you got there. So pay me for that. Hey Chidami, okay, what's the deal? Ida Amrle Chomer Stam. Okay, so now what was the terms of their agreement? So if the owner had agreed to provide a donkey, not necessarily this particular donkey, but I will provide a donkey for you to get to Tel Aviv. Well, then the owner should have to provide another, meaning it wasn't all about this particular donkey that's now dead. Forget about Reuven. The renter rented a donkey from this owner to get him from Yerushalayim to Tel Aviv. I don't care if it's this particular donkey. I don't care if it gets switched in the middle. I don't care if it's, 4 donkeys that will switch off at different points. Like, I'm hiring, I need a donkey, I don't care. I need a donkey to get me to Tel Aviv. And the owner says, I will provide a donkey to get you to Tel Aviv. So this one is dead. So the owner needs to provide another one to finish the job. Okay. And if the arrangement was for this particular donkey, well then, well, although interestingly, we said that there isn't a donkey to hire, to rent right now. But anyways, if he said this particular donkey, let him, so he rented this particular donkey, and this particular donkey is dead, but he did rent this donkey, which means if it's alive, he could ride it, and if it's dead, he should be able to sell it, get money for it, and then use that money to buy a new donkey to get him to Tel Aviv. So, well, after selling the dead donkey, the value of the dead donkey was not quite enough to buy a new donkey. But yiskor. Okay, but still, if there's enough money for selling the donkey to at least be able to rent a donkey to get to the end of it, to Tel Aviv, so let him at least sell the donkey, get money, and then find somehow to rent it, to rent to get to Tel Aviv. Although, didn't we say that he, I thought we said that there wasn't necessarily people to rent from right now, but alright. Fine. Okay. Interesting. Alright. Fine. So, I don't know, I guess maybe find somebody a little bit further down to rent it from. Alright. So then, so why are we saying that basically he's basically just braggers with him? Let him at least sell the donkey, get the money for that, and then use that money to rent another donkey to get the rest of the way. So, Rav, the time of the Amar Rav lo mechalinon karna. Well, this is Rav, right? This is Rav Huna. This is Rav Breder Rav Huna. This is Rav Bar Rav Huna in the name of Rav. And Rav's opinion is that you can't deplete the principal, right? Meaning, if you're going to sell the donkey and get its value in money, and then you're going to invest it in a new donkey, and then the owner will own that donkey, and at least it's a long, he's investing in something new, and he's going to own something out of it. So he said you could do that, but to use that money to rent a donkey, where you're not, in the long term you don't actually own anything, you're just losing that money ultimately. You're renting it rather than buying it. So Rav would say that the renter would not be able to do that. He would not be able to take the money and give it to a renter, and ultimately you're gonna have to give it back. The Idmar, it stated, if somebody rents a donkey and it dies halfway along the journey, Rav says, Rav says, look, if you could sell the carcass and with the money buy another donkey, okay, so do that. That's an investment. But to use that money to rent another donkey, where you're gonna, just giving money to a different renter, a different rental, and you're gonna have to give it, right? The original owner who he did business with is not going to actually own anything, so you can't just give away that, spend that money on a rental. Whereas Shmuel says that no, even if he wants to sell the donkey, take that money and rent another donkey, that would be fine. But what are they arguing about? Rav Savar lo mechalinon kainu, Shmuel Omer mechalinon kainu. That Rav says that we do not deplete the principal, and therefore you can't use it for rental. You can use it to buy a donkey, but not rent a donkey. Whereas Shmuel says you can even use it to rent a donkey, and the fact that you're going to deplete the principal is okay. Meisve. We have a kasha on Rav who says that we do not deplete the principal. Yovisha Elon o niktzatz shneim asurin bo. So this is talking about mashkanta. Mashkanta that we know about from Perek Ezu Neshech. So we talked about a mashkanta as a field. What if, Shimon lent $1,000 to Reuven, and Reuven gave Shimon a tree as a mashkanta? I guess the tree makes fruits, and Shimon can benefit from those fruits. So if Reuven made a tree a mashkanta, and this is talking about the mashkanta de surah. Is that what it was called? What does Rashi say? Mashkanta de surah. Basically what that was is that if Shimon lends $1,000 to Reuven, and Reuven gives Shimon a mashkanta, so it is not that Reuven then pays back Shimon the $1,000 and and Reuven then gets back his mashkanta. No, Reuven doesn't pay back Shimon $1,000. Shimon just uses the mashkanta, and that is his payment for providing the capital. So Shimon lends Reuven $1,000, and then he has access to this mashkanta until it's considered that the loan has been repaid, and then Reuven gets back his mashkanta. So in this case, it's a tree. So Meitzvah Yavisha Elon, if the tree gets dried out, or niktzatz, or cut down, so now what do? It's not usable, right? Shimon can't get any benefit from it anymore. But at the same time, let's say it was a 10-year mashkanta. So let's say they're 5 years in. So it's like, Shimon still has it for another 5 years, but, it's also kind of like half Reuven's at this point. He's got it like half back. It's been like half paid. So Shnei Masurin Bo, they can't, neither one of them, right? Both of them are forbidden. They can't just burn it and use it for firewood or whatever, because it's also like partially the other person. So what do? So Ketzid, I say Yilokach bo karka vuochel peris. Well, sell the tree and then invest in property, and then Shimon would be able to get benefit from that property for the remainder of the mashkanta. Shimon would be able to get benefit for the remainder of the mashkanta. Then it would go back to Reuven. Okay. Kim dechimati yovel kahadra ara lemara. But in this case, comes the Jubilee year, comes Yovel, the property that was purchased is going to revert to its original owner, which means that when you sold the tree and you took that money and you invested it in another property, it's essentially something that right, it's essentially like a rental in a sense, right? It's eventually going to revert back to its original owners who you bought it from, and the principal then is going to be gone. The kakal yakarnu, you're going to lose the principal. Well, achab mayaskino dezaven le the shis and shnin. Interesting. So the Gemara says, well, this is actually talking about where they bought this property for 60 years, more than the time of the Yovel. Let's go weiter. The Amar of Chizda, Amar Rav Katino. Minayin the mocher sadeu l'shishim shone she'ena choseres by Yovel. How do we know that if somebody sells or if you buy a field for 60 years, it doesn't return at the Jubilee year? Of course, the Jubilee year is every 50 years. And every 50 years, all lands that have been purchased go back to the original owners. So that no land purchases are forever. But at some point, they go back. But if you buy a property for 60 years, well, then it doesn't revert. And the sale continues until 60 years are up. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, "Va'aretz lo timacher letzmisus." Right. The whole point of Yovel is that property won't be sold forever. That when you sell your property, it's not gone from your portion forever. At least that Yovel will revert. But if built into the sale is a reversion, that after 60 years it's going to revert, so you don't need Yovel to enforce the reversion. I hope that's a thing. Because it's built into the sale is that it's for 60 years, it's for a specific amount of time. Misha ein sham Yovel nitzmeses, that Yovel is necessary for scenarios where, if not for Yovel, okay, so now the power washers are on the other side of the house. Yeah, now they're on the other side of the house. So they started on the back side, and now they're at the front. Yeah. So Yovel is necessary in scenarios where the next time you're in Nachlaot by Shuk Machne Yehuda, take a look at the floor and let us know in WhatsApp what you think. Is it clean? Is it dirty? Let us know. The power washers. So Yovel is necessary in a scenario when, if not for Yovel, then the sale would be forever. But Yesham Yovel ain't in its messes, and because of Yovel, it won't be a sale forever. Yotzes azo to the exclusion of a scenario where the sale is for 60 years. Shafal pisha ain't sham Yovel. That even if there would not be Yovel, ain't on its messes, it would not be forever. It would revert. So therefore, Yovel is not necessarily here. But Frekti Gemara sof l'chimatu shis and shnin ka'adra ar lamar. Frekti Gemara at the end of the day v'chakal yakarna. At the end of the day, okay, sure. So Yovel won't make it revert, but the 60-year time frame will make it revert. So like either way, right? You had this tree, you're selling it, you're buying property that eventually, right, it's not going to belong to Ruvain forever. Eventually he's going to lose it. So we are depleting ultimately the principal, even if only in 60 years from now, but ultimately we're taking the principal and we're investing it in something that is ephemeral. So it's a kashan Rav. Elohachav mayaskina b'zman she'ena Yovel knowing. So says Ra. So rather, no. This example where we say that you can invest it in property is nowadays when we don't have Yovel. So therefore, for all intents and purposes, a sale is forever, and therefore it is not depleting the principal by investing in property. Hachinam mistav. And the Gemara wants to say, and I'll even prove it to you. To which we're going to say the proof isn't necessarily such a proof, but. Because if it would enter your mind that it's talking about when there is Yovel, and by investing in property, it is going to ultimately revert, and the principal is going to be depleted. Well then, well then you may as well, if anyways it's going to be depleted, so then why not just let him chop it up and use it for firewood? So that isn't necessarily a proof, because even if you say that you can be right, that it is when there's Yovel, and ultimately it's not ultimately a purchase forever, and it's going to deplete the principal, but it's still preferable. Wow, power washers. Chazak. Hear it through the noise cancelling headphones. Wow, mamish chazak. Streets of Yerushalayim are very, very clean. So it would still be preferable to I'm so happy I have noise cancelling headphones. It makes it way more manageable. So it would still be preferable, even sure. If you were to chop up the wood and burn it, obviously you'd be depleting the wood. If you invest in property that goes back at Yovel, you're also, ultimately it's, you're going to lose the principal at Yovel. But it would still be preferable to buy land, even if at some point it's going to revert, than to burn it today, because Zimni Deshlimu Shnei Mashkanta Mikame Yovel. Right? Let's say that, right, if the mashkanta was for 10 years and Yovel's not for another 50 years, well then, at least Reuven still, sure, if whatever property you bought is going to revert in 50 years from now, so sure, eventually it's going to revert, but Reuven will still have it for 40 years after the mashkanta is over, whereas if you burn it now, you basically lose everything. So therefore, it isn't necessarily, even if you say that it's talking about Yovel, it would still be preferable to buy property than just use it for firewood now. Inami, alternatively, dimatu le zuze ufarik lo arba v'chamesh shnin mikam Yovel. Alternatively, right, Reuven could pay back the loan and get back his mashkanta, and then he would still, even with the reversion of Yovel, you'd be able to use the property until Yovel. So that would still be preferable rather than burning it now. So that isn't necessarily a proof that the fact that you invest in property is talking about when there's no Yovel. But still, we could still be saying that we're talking about when, we still did want to say that according to Rav, you can't deplete the principal. And when we say invest in property, it is at a time when there is no Yovel. We wanted to bring a proof for it, which didn't really work out, but we can still say that that would be talking about when there's no Yovel, and that's why you can invest it in property. Fine. Taner Rabbanan. The rabbis taught. Okay, let me just 1 second. So this is an interesting scenario. So somebody rents a boat and it sunk halfway. Okay, so now somebody rents a boat and it sinks halfway between hither and yon. Reb Nosson says, Reb Nosson, Im Nosson lo yitol. So if the renter already paid for it, so then he can't get his money back. Vim lo nosson, if he hasn't yet paid for it, lo yitin, then he shouldn't pay for it. And that's kind of how things stand. If he already paid for it, doesn't get his money back. If he didn't yet pay for it, he doesn't need to pay. Hey Chidami, now what exactly was the conditions of the rental? Okay, so we're talking about a renter who is renting a boat because he has wine that he needs to transport from hither to yon. So if the deal was bisfina zo, that the boat owner said, I will rent you this particular boat, v'yayin stam, and the renter said, I have wine to transport. Not this particular wine, which is now at the bottom of the sea, but I have wine to transport. So you know what the renter says to the boat owner? Oh, how about this? The renter to the rentor? Oh my gosh. How annoying would that be? If I started calling the renter, and like the boat owner, the rentor. Oh my gosh, how annoying would that be? The renter and the rentor. Oh my gosh, I'm tempted. The renter and the rentor. Oh, I'm so tempted to do that. The renter and the rentor. Oh, wow. The renter and the rentor. Uh-oh, Chevra, I think you're in trouble. The renter and the rentor. Oof. Sorry. I think I'm going to do it. Apologies in advance. All right, so, I mean, fella, rentor. I think it should be okay. So if the rentor Oh, no, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. The boat owner. All right. Chevre, I'm a benevolent dictator. So if we're talking about this particular boat and yain stam. Okay, so meaning the renter had said, I have wine to bring. And the boat owner said, you can use this particular boat. So the renter, so his claim to the boat owner can be like, look, all I said was that I have wine that I want to get from hither to yon. Okay, this particular wine is at the bottom of the sea. So that didn't work out, but I have other wine that I still want to get from hither to yon, right? I rented your services to get wine from hither to yon. You said you were going to provide that boat. Look, if you can, scuba dive to the bottom of the sea and bring it back up and use that boat to get my wine there, not necessarily that wine, but I have other wine, right? You committed to getting my wine from hither to yon. I still have, right? My wine hasn't gotten there. I still have other wine that can get there. If you can go and, so you took responsibility that you were going to get my wine on this boat from hither to yon. This boat is now at the bottom of the sea. So, if you could bring it up to the top of the sea and get it back on track, great. Otherwise, find me an alternative or I want my money back. Right? So therefore, im nosan amai lo yitol. If the renter in that case already paid, why can't he get his money back? Namely, let the renter say to the rentor, I'm so tempted. All right, maybe we'll just be in this trial period. Well, I'll try it out and see how it's working. So let the renter say to the rentor, Havli svinta de onamaisina chamer. Look, I've got wine to bring. I told you I have wine I need to get from hither to yon. Okay, fine, a few barrels got lost there at the bottom of the sea, but I have more. Right? So, Havli Svinta, get me back that boat. I still have wine to bring, and if you can't bring me that boat, well then you're responsible. Give me back my money. Well, if we're talking about the rentor said that he was going to provide a boat, not necessarily this boat, a boat, and the renter said, I'm going to provide this particular wine. Well, if that's the case, that particular wine is at the bottom of the sea. And so we said that if the renter has not yet paid for it, so he doesn't have to pay. But why not? Let the rentor say to the renter, look, I committed to providing a boat. Sure, this boat is at the bottom of the sea, but I have other boats I can give you. Go scuba dive, get those barrels, put them on my boats. Do whatever you got to do. But I'm here. I got my boats. Your wine is gone. Find that wine, put it on my boats, and we'll go weiter. But I'm ready, and therefore I don't care that you didn't pay me. You need to pay me. I'm here. I'm ready to uphold my side of the deal. You need to uphold yours, and if you can't, I don't care. You still have to pay me. Right? So if the rentor said, I'm going to provide a boat, and the renter said, I'm going to provide this wine, so if the renter has not yet paid, why shouldn't he have to pay? Namely, let the rentor say to him, Havli, go scuba dive to the bottom of the sea, find that wine that you said you needed transported, and I have a boat that's ready to transport it, and if you don't want to do that, well then, you still have to pay me. So it says Rav Papa, well, it's talking about when they both committed to specific things, right? The rentor said, I am going to provide you this boat. It's now at the bottom of the sea. The renter said, I'm going to be transporting this wine. It's now at the bottom of the sea. Everything's at the bottom of the sea. So the chips just kind of land, fall where they land. If the renter had already paid, so then, he doesn't get his money back. If he has not yet paid, the rentor doesn't have any claims against him. Aval, but when it comes to bisfina stam v'yain stam cholkim, but if the rentor said, I'm going to provide a boat, and the renter said, I'm going to provide wine. So in that case, they just kind of split it. In that case, I guess they can agree, okay, I'll provide another boat and I'll provide other wine, and the deal goes weiter, or they can just say, okay, forget it, we're out and we'll just split the losses. But in that case, where both of them are kind of still in the game, so then they split the responsibility. Tana Rabbanan, the Rabbis taught, Hasocher es asvina ufarka lo b'chatzi aderech nosein lo scharo shel chatzi aderech v'en lo olav ela taromes. Okay, so this is talking about a scenario. Oh wait, that's interesting. Wait, oh okay, yeah, fine, yeah, all right, Okay, Beseder. Where am I? Okay, so this is talking about a scenario because you have like a boat, and a guy is renting a boat. Okay, the guy is renting the boat, and the rentor is also he's the skipper. Okay, so you have the renter and you have the rentor on the boat together. So now, so you have the renter who rents a boat, and halfway along the journey, the renter says, "You know what? Stop here. I'm going to take off my merchandise. We're done." So the renter needs to pay the skipper who owns the boat, who's the rentor. So the renter pays the skipper for half of the journey, right? Right? He told them, the renter says, okay, halfway is enough. I'm taking off my merchandise. So he has to pay the skipper for half of the journey. And, the skipper is bragis, but beseder, it is what it is. What's the scenario? Look, if the skipper would be able to find somebody else to rent the boat there and continue on the journey, so what's he upset about? He got paid for the distance that he traveled. He'll continue traveling with another renter. He'll continue making money. What does he care? What's he bragging about? V'idulo mashkach la'agura kule agra ba'ishalume. And if the skipper can't find another renter there, well then certainly the renter is going to have to pay for the full journey. That's what he had committed to. So l'olam dikamashkach la'agura. So really, it is talking about where the skipper can find somebody else to rent the boat there and go weiter. Elo amayisle taromis. Well then, what's he bragging about? He found somebody to rent the boat. So mishum rafsisa disfinta. Well, because taking the merchandise, schlepping the merchandise off of the boat and then bringing new merchandise onto the boat causes the boat to kind of, move around this direction and that, to like wobble around, and it causes a certain amount of wear and tear on the boat. So that's why the skipper is bragis. If that's the case, that there's real wear and tear that happens to the boat, tanta ma'al yisa hu. Well, that's a real taina. That, your decision to stop halfway is causing damage to my boat. Umamona is like gabe, and the skipper should be able to be paid for that. It's not just braggis. There's real financial claims there. Elamai parka. So rather, no. What does it mean that he unloaded? We were assuming up until now that it means that halfway through the renter said, "You know what? I'm done. I want to unload my wares over here." No, that's not what it means. It means that halfway through, he says to the skipper, "Hey, can we make a stop here? I have merchandise in a warehouse over here. I want to bring it onto the boat also. I want to add that. I want to bring that as well." So that's what it means. So meaning they're traveling the entire distance, right? So that's not the issue. But he says, "Hey, I want to bring on more merchandise," and he's going to pay for more merchandise, right? That's not a problem. The parka l'toyane begava, that he's gonna bring merchandise from some warehouse that he has halfway there, and he's gonna bring it into the boat. Elamai taromas. So what is the skipper bragging about? He's getting paid for it. Mishum shinui daita. Well, either because the skipper thought, meaning he didn't know this is a surprise stop. The skipper in his mind had already figured, okay, it's going to take me this amount of time. He's already making, he adjusted his schedule based on the job. All of a sudden, he's saying, wait, actually, I want to stop here. It adds time to, it messes up his cheshbon. So, he's annoyed, he's brigis, but that's about it. Inami la'ashli seira. Alternatively, well, now that there is a now that there's going to be more of a load there's going to be more cargo on the boat, well, the boat is going to weigh more, which means that it has to anchor further out in the deeper areas, which means that he needs to have a longer rope, and he didn't bring a longer rope because he didn't realize he figured that he wouldn't have to go so far out. So now he's going to have to go to shore and buy a long rope on at the port, which is going to be much more expensive than if he would have bought it in his hometown before he left. So that's what he's bragging is about. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught hasocher esachomer lirkov aleo. So similarly to the previous case where you had a boat and a skipper owns the boat. So you're also right. You're hiring a donkey driver. The donkey driver is basically like a taxi driver, right? So you hire the donkey driver and you're going to ride on the donkey with him. So somebody who hires a donkey driver and he's going to ride on the donkey. So the renter brings onto the donkey his clothing, his what's lignuso? Does anybody remember what lignuso is? Let me look it up. 1 second. His flask. That's important. So the renter can load onto the donkey his clothing, his flask, his food. Shall also aderech for the entire journey. But anything more than what's necessary for the journey, the donkey driver can be like, wait, that's enough. The donkey driver, however, doesn't bring stuff for the entire journey. Rather, he brings barley and straw and food that he needs. Just for that one day. But if he brings enough provisions for more than a day, the renter is like, wait, Mr. Donkey Driver, I think that's enough. What's the scenario? Well, if along the way there are places, there's rest stops where you could buy things. There are rest stops where you can buy things. So then why is the renter allowed to bring stuff for the entire trip? Just pick up things as you need them, lighten up the load. And if there are no rest stops, and places to buy things along the way, so sochanami lo la'akiv, well then the renter shouldn't be able to stop the donkey driver. I mean, if there's not going to be anywhere to pick up things along the way, the donkey driver is going to need to bring everything he needs for the whole journey, not just for that day. The scenario is, look, every night they're going to be staying at some kind of kretschmer, and you can go out and find what you need there. So look, the donkey driver, this is his bread and butter. He does this every day. He's staying at another kretschmer every single night. He's used to it. Yeah, he gets to the kretschmer, he finds out, where can I find hay? How do I do this? He's accustomed to it. The renter is not accustomed to getting to a place to stay that night, and now all of a sudden he has to find, start looking after his basic needs. So therefore, he could bring what he needs for the whole journey to be comfortable. The donkey driver, though, he knows how to get along just fine and find what he needs when he gets to the kretschmer, and therefore he just brings what he needs, to get from one kretschmer to the next. A person who rents a donkey for a man, well then he shouldn't show up with a woman there, right? He shouldn't bring a woman on it if he rented it for a man. But if he rents a donkey for a woman, he can, a man would be able to ride, and that would not be a violation of the rental terms. And when we say a woman, it's whether an adult woman, a minor woman, pregnant woman, nursing woman, well, if you say that a pregnant woman, a nursing woman can go on the donkey, so obviously that's the nursing woman and obviously a baby who's going to be nursing. So if she can go on the donkey, then certainly a pregnant woman who's just one person can go on. It means a pregnant woman who is nursing. So meaning even if she's both pregnant and nursing and it's a lot of additional weight, still she can go on the donkey. Omar Abai says, Abai Shmamina binisa akarsa taklo l'manaf kamina l'mekach umimkar. So from the fact that we're what does Rashi say? Okay, from the fact that we're kind of putting a pregnant woman in her own category rather than an unpregnant woman, so it means that the pregnancy, the fetus, was going to add weight to her. Which means that if you're going to buy a fish and the fish has a big belly, you can assume that that belly is going to add weight. What's an afkamina? Well, you're probably going to want him to clean out that belly and the intestines before weighing it, because otherwise it's going to be a more expensive fish. That was Daf Ayin Tes of Masechta BavaMetzia. We started talking about the scenario where the king's people take the donkey, the machlokas between Rav and Shmuel about whether the donkey owner needs to provide a new donkey or can just say deal with it. Rav had said it depends if it's a temporary seizure or a permanent one. Shmuel had said it depends which direction they are planning to take the donkey. Then we got into a rental where a donkey dies in the middle and kind of depending on if it was Chamar Zeh or Chamar Stam, and can you sell it and then can you buy a new one versus renting and Mechala Karna. Rav says you can't be right, Lo Mechalin and Karna. Shmuel says you can be Mechalin and Karna. And then we got into other scenarios about what the terms of the rental are, right? For example, if you had the boat with the wine, depends if the rentor is providing a boat versus this boat, if the renter is renting it for this wine versus more wine, and we got into kind of different scenarios about rental agreements and what falls within the terms of the agreements and what doesn't. Peace out.